Okay, so I'm going to be giving you my Penn State Indiana preview and prediction. So Penn State's going to play Indiana later on today. So far, Penn State is 4-0. They are number 4 in the country. They've been having a very good year. They narrowly beat Wisconsin and Auburn. Indiana had a very good year last year. They've had some troubles. They lost to Iowa very bad in the first week, and then they lost to Cincinnati in a fairly respectable game, and then they barely beat Western Kentucky last week, and they beat Idaho in a pretty much just a cupcake game. Overall, Indiana's been looking okay, but their passing game has been a little bit off. Penix has been making too many turnovers. He hasn't had the same connection with his receivers as he has in the past, and the run game isn't as good as they don't have Stevie Scott in there anymore. The offense is going to have to play a little bit better, I think, if they're going to want to beat Penn State. Currently, the line is around 12. I think it's a home game for Penn State. It's at night. Going to be a hostile environment. Penn State's going to want revenge from the last year's terrible game. Indiana really didn't win the game. Penn State just completely lost it in every facet. Penn State had the game won, and they found a way to lose. That was really the story. You can argue about whether Penix was in or not. Most people don't think he was in, but it doesn't matter because Indiana won the game. So how I see this game is I think it's going to be very critical to see how this game starts out. I think if Penn State can get out on them early, that'll be very important. If they kind of let Indiana hang around, they're or Indiana gets out to a lead early, it's going to be tough for Penn State. I think that Penn State's defense, if they can continue to play with the speed that they've been able to play, and the secondary can play well, I think that puts them in a good position. If they can get some kind of pressure on Penix, that's big, because Penix will. He's proven that he will make some mistakes. Okay, he's a little bit injury prone too. If they can get in his face and get him under pressure, especially if Penn State's offense is getting some points, and Penix starts to feel some pressure to force some balls. He's getting guys are getting in his face. And if Penn State's secondary can lock down Freifogel and Hendershot, then that's where I think they can start to, kind of get the game going. I think they should be okay against the run. I don't think they're going to be great. I think Indiana will be able to run the ball to some degree, but I don't think they're going to do anything crazy. But I do think Penn State's run defense can be had. I just don't know if Indiana quite has the run game to be able to do that. Say how Auburn was able to in sometimes, and I think Iowa will be able to run the ball well next week. For Indiana's defense has looked a little shaky this year. They didn't look great against Western Kentucky. Cincinnati was able to perform fairly well, but Penn State's offense still is a little bit off in my opinion. I still think that Sean Clifford, he's had a very good year, but there's still a little bit of a disconnect between him and some of his receivers at some times. But overall, the passing game has been doing fairly well, and I think they should be able to move the ball fairly well. But teams are going to eventually, they realize that Sean Clifford can now beat them. So now if they start to put some guys back there, and if they can just try to force Penn State to beat them with the run game, that's what they might do. Now, Sean Clifford is a capable running quarterback. They haven't done as many design runs to him this year. Maybe that's because they don't really have a formidable backup quarterback. I don't know. But their run game's a little bit concerning. But it's not necessarily the talent at the running back position. No, Noah Cain's been doing fine. He's a talented running back. Part of it is I don't really know that they have a home run threat. A guy like a Journey Brown, Saquon Barkley type guy who has jet speed. They don't. They have a lot of ground and pound guys. John Levet, Kikavon Lee, Noah Cain. So they kind of have three guys who are kind of all the same in one sense, and they've been okay, but they don't have a guy who can get a lot of yardage. So even if they get 6 yards, that's like it was just up the middle, and they broke, and they kind of fell forward, and they got 6 yards or something. They got a little bit of a push. The run blocking hasn't been great either. The pass blocking's been good for Clifford, but the run blocking's going to have to get better. I could see this game going in a couple directions. I don't necessarily know how good Penn State is because Wisconsin doesn't look that great at the moment, and Auburn barely beat Georgia State. So we could be overrating Penn State a lot right now. We could be, rating them at the right amount. And we could also be, Indiana maybe taking them a couple games to get going, and they're going to show the talent that's on their team. Tywan Mullen, McFadden at linebacker. They have some talented guys on defense. Freifogel, Hendershot, Penix. That's a good mix right there. you know, if they can turn the corner, they could win this game, and it wouldn't be that surprising if we look back on it that way. But I could also see it being Indiana was kind of fortunate last year. Penn State had a down year. Penn State's back. Indiana's kind of back to Indiana. It's a home game, hostile environment. Penn State's going to lock them down. I kind of see it being somewhere in between. I think Penn State's going to be able to move the ball to some degree. I don't know if Indiana's defense is that great, but at the same point, I haven't seen enough consistency with the Penn State run game, and I have enough respect for the Indiana defense for Penn State to not, hang 40 on them. I think Penn State is. I like Penn State 31-17. I think they're going to cover. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think they're going to kind of start to break away in the second half, and you're going to feel pretty good going into the fourth quarter, and Penn State's going to come through with a fairly stress-free win. But it won't be over until late in the fourth quarter officially, because you don't know what's going to happen with Indiana. So, and I think Indiana's going to be able to move the ball to some degree through the pass a little bit, and they're going to be able to run the ball. But with the crowd, and just I haven't seen enough consistency with the Indiana offense, and Penn State's defense has been very, very good for most of the year, for me to put Indiana above, the 20-25 mark. So I got 31-17. Let's hope it happens. Peace out.